Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by a freelance social commentator who lists their favourite movie as American Psycho and favourite TV show as Yellowstone. Welcome back to the show, Blake Robinson.
Hello, Jamie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
We're back.
It's always good to have you, and I think we're going to do 2 or 3 weeks in a row now.
Bro, we're just rolling out heavy hitters at the moment. Just the big ticket items.
It's looking back at the list,
we've had some big ones.
Yeah, I was like prepping our end of year awards, and I'm looking at the list being like, holy crap, there's some contenders in here for all of these awards.
Bro, that's all yesterday. I was going through the odds on Sportsbet for Best Picture at the Oscars, and it's stacked. For a year that's had like hiccups and whatnot, we've somehow been absolutely gifted. But does that mean we're having an off year next year?
A year with Hollywood shut down for, was it nearly 3 months?
Yeah, 180
days. And we got some big movies this year, so.
And they're still coming.
Interesting. Oh yeah,
we
still got
squeezed out right to the end.
The next month or so with screenings and previews and all that sort of stuff is insane.
Yeah, we've been gifted, but I think I don't know. I wouldn't call this the last. I was going to say we've saved the best to last potentially today, but one of the best for one of the last, maybe.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of what's to come this year, and Wonka is like the last big one that could be
could topple the lot,
shocker.
you reckon?
But it could be the shock one, but
I don't know. Like
the trailer didn't do a lot for me.
See, that's one. When we've had this discussion, like, this is another one for Wonka. I haven't watched the trailer because I've just I know I want to see it. I've seen got Wonka and Timothy Chalamet. That's pretty much all I needed to know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just quickly, have we both worn football jerseys though?
I've worn
Is that Dragon Ball Z?
A football-inspired Dragon Ball Z jersey.
That's gangster as. I'm a huge fan of that.
I've got this one. It's the Frieza-inspired one, and then I've also got one that's Goku.
That's so good.
It's black and gold. It looks great.
Yeah. Oh, bro, you got to roll the Goku one out next week for sure. I need to see that. Yeah.
Righty. I'll write that down and we'll put that on next week.
Yeah.
So this week we are traveling back in time to the French Revolutionary era as we become enthralled in Ridley Scott's pseudo-historical biopic drama movie thing about Napoleon Bonaparte.
Not Napoleon Dynamite.
No, very, very different Napoleons.
Do not get them twisted.
Although, are they all that different?
No, not at all.
They were very on the autism spectrum.
Right, after watching this Napoleon in particular, not too far off Napoleon Dynamite.
Yep.
Have you ever seen them in the same room? I'll just let that sit in the air.
But so Napoleon is an epic that details the checkered rise and fall of the fabled French emperor and his relentless journey to power. And then, as I wrote in my review, in doing so, this film cements why the term Napoleon Complex is so common in modern-day vernacular.
So common that I've never heard it.
You have never heard of someone having a Napoleon complex?
Nah, man, nah.
It's the short man syndrome.
100%. Napoleon,
because, he was fabled to be shorter than the average man.
Yeah.
Which they make a joke of in this movie.
So is that where the term short man syndrome comes from? Shout out to all my short kings out there, but it's a thing. They're the biggest one, the shortest in the crowd, but they're also the biggest.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a Napoleon complex.
And this particular Napoleon Bonaparte was portrayed in such that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He is the inspiration for that term.
Potentially only child vibes too could be present there. I don't know.
Yeah.
You might have to check the tapes, but I doubt he's got siblings the way he carried on.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, did you notice the short man joke in the movie as well?
No, I didn't. There were a lot of
When
people tall, uncomfortably taller than him, though.
Yeah, everyone was taller than him, and then
Even
when
his missus.
when they go to Egypt and they exhume the mummy, and
Yes,
he tries to look at it face to face and has to grab a box. I was
because
like, that's great.
he grabbed the crate. I thought that was I did notice that, but I also noticed the mummy's feet were like a foot off the ground too in that coffin. Is that what they call them? Coffins?
Sarcophagus.
What? Is that what?
Egyptians call them a sarcophagus.
Oh, not sarcophagus. What's that thing in your throat? Esophagus?
That's your esophagus.
Esophagus. Don't get them mixed up.
Very different things.
Very, yeah, look, you need context there. No, yeah, so it wasn't a speaking joke, it was a subtle little dig. And that was just one of the many comical aspects of this movie. That caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting this to be so laughable.
There were a lot of silly moments, and
Like every time he hit that fang doggy, he just went at it for about a minute.
yeah, like a 15-year-old boy, like the first time he's
ever had the intercourses. So funny. It just made
straight up Jack Rabbit for like 30 seconds, and then he's like,
just in and out operator, get the job done.
I love the first time they show it, and he just goes to town for like 30 seconds. He's done, and then he's like, "Let that hard work make us a baby." And it's like, that wasn't hard work, bro.
Yeah, that just goes to show he wasn't in the field of making love, was he? He really just wanted a baby, and it was by any means necessary.
Yep.
They didn't shy away from the sexy time scenes in this and the naughtiness, did they? This movie had a bit of everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's. I would say it's definitely more for like your big action, epic people.
I just get worried with movies
history
like
buffs
this.
are going to get annoyed with this movie too.
100%, bro. No one, you can't please everyone. But
there's a lot of inaccuracies historically in this too.
Yeah, I reckon there would be. I haven't had the time of day to go and hit the wikis yet, but it will be done.
We'll touch on some of those at the end.
What was I saying? Yeah, about this having a little bit of everything in it. It doesn't really. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't land when you have these big, spectacular, gruesome battle movies about serious events in history. Then you throw in the giggles. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it doesn't land, and it just completely takes away from it. I'm still undecided whether that occurred here or not. Probably not, if I'm just going to make the call now. What do you reckon?
I think the parts where Napoleon is like kind of weird and silly work because it like fits his sort of character where he's just like this awkward dude. But then like there's a moment when they overthrow the government and Napoleon and anoints himself as the emperor. One of the wives of the politicians that gets like dragged out of his breakfast, I was like, she just goofy. I was like, this looks dumb.
Yeah, it looks shit. She was like, she was like an NPC just when the PlayStation
character
frozen. That was cringe as well, man. That was tacky.
That took me out of that part.
Yeah, it was like she was acting in the opera or something. I noticed that too, and I didn't like that. But I'm willing to look past it.
Yeah, but yeah, all the Napoleon like just being awkward and weird. I was like, that seems to fit.
Yeah, completely fair. But I didn't know the bloke. But if he was weird like that, then play on, I reckon, with the giggles in a serious movie.
In terms of the cast, I wrote down sort of 3 names, and for me, there's a lot of people in this movie, but there's really only 2 that we really pay any attention to. Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon Bonaparte, and then Vanessa Kirby as Empress Josephine, and then there was one other person that kind of had a very important role, even though it was maybe 2 minutes. Catherine Walker as Marie Antoinette at the very start.
Oh, of no longer has a head fame.
Yes, guillotine. 2 minutes into the movie, done.
You know what else happened 2 minutes into another Ridley Scott film that happened in this film? A decapitated head at the start of
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Literally the opening scene. That soldier comes back on the horse with no head. Then old mate's up in the bushes holding the head with his axe. Like, so I noticed that straight away. So that is I don't know if you call that an Easter egg for the fan of Ridley Scott, or it's just that's just what it is, or
I
if it's just
guess
completely unintentional,
I guess it is
non-coincidental.
like a nice little callback to
Nod. It's a
Gladiator as
nod.
like,
It's a
yeah,
nod.
this is like
The tip
this
of
is
the hat.
my next historical epic about an emperor.
Yeah.
So let's kind of mimic the same opening.
Um. So yeah, I like it. I like that when they don't beat around the bush and there's no little slow burn intro and they're just straight into it. They get you on the edge of your seat and get your attention straight away.
Yeah,
Big fan.
we get that opening crawl with like the little like setting the tone and the context with the little write up on like this is
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
happened to get us to this point, and then we're straight into it.
Exact same as
Marie
Gladiator.
Marie Antoinette is getting taken to the guillotine. It's like, holy, we're right in this now, and they don't
Um,
shy away from showing that either.
I knew they would, and I was so ready for it. Like I was like, and I was hoping for it as well. I'm like, they better show the shit out of this, and they did. I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, and they showed more than I expected, like holding the head up. The one thing I was hoping for, and they didn't do, was throw the head into the crowd and let the crowd have it. Let them absolutely have it. That's
the
what I wanted.
the old lady sitting next to me in the cinema was definitely not prepared.
Yeah, I had those two old ladies in the back of my mind during a lot of these scenes in the movie, just wondering how they would take it.
Yeah,
Use of the word slut in reference from Napoleon to his mistress or wife.
wife. Yeah,
Ah,
he's straight up
well,
wife.
straight up wife. Yeah, Napoleon went full cuck in this movie, didn't he? And like wore it, like didn't really care. Like yeah, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, there was some
Did,
awkward moments.
I don't want to jump too far ahead here before we get too far gone. When you mention actors in this movie, Bill Nye definitely wasn't in this movie, was he?
I do not believe so.
As the leader, forgive me, of Britain's army.
From the Battle of Waterloo?
Yeah,
No,
no,
no.
no, definitely not.
That was. Let me check. I'll double check it, but it was not him. It
No.
was
Yeah, other than that, no one else recognizable, really.
Rupert Everett, I believe.
Yeah,
Arthur Wellesley.
they both those names check out.
But yeah, it was Joaquin Phoenix. Like he's clearly the centerpiece of this whole movie. As the movie's Napoleon, so it's going to focus majority on him. But
I
Vanessa
don't know.
Kirby has a pretty big role as Josephine,
Yep.
and yeah, the whole story revolves around their relationship and how their weird,
How their relationship
messed up relationship impacts what he does.
impacted France today, essentially.
Yeah, and yeah,
Yeah. So I just want to touch on Joaquin Phoenix. I've been reflecting all day about this and his performance. Like it wasn't groundbreaking. It wasn't show stopping. It didn't steal the show, but it wasn't bad. It was everything it needed to be. I don't think it wasn't great, but he did what he needed to do in this, and it didn't steal the show. The show being the epic that is the movie.
yeah. The battle sequences are the
The
standout
battle.
of the movie.
So if you want like best supporting actor nominations for this movie, you would have to nominate the battle scenes as a supporting actor because they carried this movie, didn't they? The battle
Yeah.
scenes. This is what you come for, and they didn't disappoint. I'm going to go on the record now and say it, the best fighting scenes in cinema history. I'll say it.
Oof, big call.
I don't. That
I would
one
say
on
they're
the
definitely the best like war scenes since maybe Lord of
yeah.
the Rings.
No, as soon as I went up, yeah, I know. I've thought about this, and I wasn't sure if I was comfortable putting it above Lord of the Rings because as I was walking out of the cinema, I was like, oh no, like are these better? Like the what's the second one?
I think they were better than Lord of the Rings just because every battle felt unique. They didn't all feel like the same thing. And it showed off like Napoleon's tactical brilliance in all of them. Like he
Especially
won each battle in a different way.
the one on the ice was just mind blowing. I never wanted that to end
Yeah, that was great.
when he trapped them on the ice. That was just masterful stuff.
So on the whole thing of the battles, as I was watching the movie, I'm taking my notes like usual, and there was a few words that I wrote down as the movie was going along that I thought really captured what this movie meant to me. And those words were raw, intense, visceral, gruesome, savage, unrelenting, and merciless.
Merciless. Good words.
Because he did not give two shits about anyone. Like, as soon as they
You know,
started to retreat, he was like, chase them down, kill them all.
yeah. But and it shows. It landed him in hot water a few times.
Yeah, well, particularly when he got exiled the first time, when he took 600,000 men to Russia and came back with 40, and they're like, what have you done?
It's mental, hey. How many did you lose in the end? 3 million or something?
Yeah, according to records, it's estimated between 2 and 3.5 million.
What do we think about guy Tsar Alexander? I have no idea who that actor was, but did a pretty good job.
Yeah, seemed fun.
Did a pretty good job. Also a bit of a little um, only child vibes there.
Yeah, except he had the sister, didn't he? He
He
had
had
sisters.
he definitely had sisters.
Couple of
We know
sisters.
her.
Yeah. Oh,
Hoping we got a bit more context. So that's what another thing with this movie. There was I think we mentioned it. Could have been what was it? Just shy of 3 hours.
so it clocked in at 2 hours and 38 minutes, but it moves at a brisk pace.
Yeah, it caught me off guard when it sort of wrapped up. Um,
It's like the Sports Center highlight reel of Napoleon's
yeah,
life.
literally, that's what I was about to say. This could have been a 6 hour movie. A lot of stuff was I don't know because things are obviously brushed over. A lot of little small details, things like they mentioned and like stuff like that. He went to that dinner party. Napoleon went to the dinner party and met Tsar's sisters. Stuff like that. You sort of want to go back and like see those sorts of scenes. Those little, I don't know, 3 to 5 minute like filler scenes, but it'd just be the longest film ever if they added all that sort of stuff in. But we got what we wanted, just absolute brutal, epic, gory, graphic battle scenes. That's what you're watching this movie for, and you
Yeah,
got
so
that.
like just sort of going back to some of the performances and stuff like you mentioned like Joaquin Phoenix didn't like steal the show for you. I think the biggest point of praise I can give to his performance is he captures like the two sides to Napoleon's personality. Like you have the really confident, assured battlefield general who knows precisely what he wants to do in every moment. Childlike
Very
Napoleon when
awkward.
he's around his wife.
Very awkward, hey, and absolute, like I said, absolute cuck mode in this. Like, just keeps taking it back after everything. After it goes public that she was sleeping around while he was overseas, and he's coming home, and um,
And then
yeah,
he tries to be really forceful and commanding of her, like tries to say that get her to say that I would have been nothing, like she'd be nothing without him, and then
then
she
all of
just
a
flips it
sudden,
and turns it straight back on him.
and he's copying that. Yeah, I don't know. Like
So
you've obviously can't be all there to be what these blokes were.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but
I think that's probably the biggest praise I can give to Joaquin for his
that's what I
performance
said.
in that aspect. Like
He
they
did
both,
nothing. He did nothing wrong. He did everything he needed to. He did a great job of it. I can't fault it. But if you're going, like, I think we've just put him on a pedestal lately of just doing absolute incredible performances. Then I think people will sort of maybe expect that now, like from now on, every single movie. But like I said, the movie isn't like it is about him and it is a biopic, but the whole sole thing isn't him stealing the show as Napoleon. It's what Napoleon did.
yep, yeah. I got very Joker vibes in moments as well. I was like, he's just doing the Joker character.
Joker can't be unseen. I'm
Yeah,
thinking the same thing. Everything he does, especially the close-ups as well. And I don't know, because he has got a unique face, like with that scar on his top lip. All these sort of roles do seem the same in a
yep.
way. And the way he does these like quirky little movements and laughs. And I think, has he got like a bung shoulder or something, like a drop shoulder? Like he sort of is a very unique looking human. So every time he does the role, they're all very similar.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard for him to sort of blend in. It's just like, oh yeah, he's just
Yeah.
there.
And all his mannerisms, like they're great and everything he does, but it's all the same for each role.
Yep.
Take nothing away from him. Like he's brilliant in this. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it's not, don't go into this thinking it's going to be another Oscar worthy performance because it wasn't that. But I will say I did have the thinkings of going into this that it could be a Best Picture smoky for this year, taking out a few other top dogs, and I don't know. I'm going to leave that to the judges. Take nothing away.
I would
It
probably still
lived up
put
to my,
this
it lived up to my
in my top
expectations
5
of
for
the
the year,
year. Easy.
but I don't think it doesn't go into my top 3 of this year, which I'm not going to spoil because that's a award.
Yeah, I'm just trying to quickly crunch in my head what 5 would be. I think the top 3 is pretty unanimous, and I'd be shocked if you have something other than what my 3 are in your top 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely unanimous. Um,
I've definitely got one that you wouldn't have, but apart from, I know that the top 2 is probably pretty solid.
yeah, so Barbie and joking. Back to this masterpiece, I'm calling it, because it is. I've hyped up these battle scenes, and but the trailer is one of those trailers that give off absolute epic film vibes, just massive, massive cinema, and I went into that expecting that. Like I try not to these days go into films expecting anything or expecting a certain thing, but I went into this specifically for just epic, big cinema, big screen battles, and they absolutely delivered. It gave me more than what I
Oh
thought.
yeah.
It was so much more graphic and gory than I could have hoped. One fault, can we please stop showing horses get brutally killed in
Oh,
war movies? This has to stop. I don't want to
there's
see
a
it.
there's
I
a
do
lot
not
of
want to see
horses
it.
get slaughtered, and the first horse death
Oh,
that was full on.
bro, like maybe, yeah, or if you have to do it once, not like repetitively seeing horses get
Every battle.
fucked up. Oh, I hate it, man. It breaks my heart seeing horses get hurt. Don't do it.
At least the first one went quick.
Yeah, some of them are absolutely brutal. I hate that.
Yeah,
Those poor horses.
that
That
first one, I was like, holy. That immediately sets the tone for what's to come in some of
yeah.
these
Like,
battles. Like,
all
okay,
right.
this is
What
going to be
else are we
full on.
gonna? Yeah. What else are we gonna see here? And what does he say when he retrieves the cannonball and he gives it to old mate? Does he say give that to your mother or something?
He says that's for mother, to
That's
give back to
for
his mother, because I think that might have been her horse or something like that.
yeah.
So yeah, I was like, oh, that's kind of
It's
gross.
quite etch. Yeah, I don't want to say it. We've seen it in All Quiet on the Western Front as well, and I just needs to stop now. We've seen enough. I saw horses didn't get injured in or Lord of the Rings. We didn't see it, did we? Or
Were
maybe,
there even? I don't think there were even horses in Lord of the Rings, were they? Apart from like the elves, and they were just like heaps far away shooting arrows.
yeah, maybe Legolas's horse gets caught under one of them big. elephant's feet or something, maybe. But
Yeah,
anyway,
maybe.
not to
Nothing
the
like
not to
gruesome where
the
it looks like a real horse is taking a cannonball to the chest.
it's messed up. But yeah, I couldn't get enough of the graphic and the gore in this.
And just
And
the
it didn't look
scale of
shit.
these battles too, like
And it didn't look
three,
shit either.
4, 500 men. It's like, oh Jesus, these are huge.
Yeah, it's just simply epic cinema. It's everything I wanted in this film. I Yeah, I don't know, but what I just touched on earlier about a massive Joaquin Phoenix performance. I think I was half expecting that as well for some reason. I'll put my hand up and say I'm guilty of just expecting big things from him.
Mhm.
So I don't know, and the fact that I picked it out, singled it out, and noticed he didn't have a massive performance. Maybe I'm subconsciously am let down by it, but I'm not. That's not getting in the way of the film for me, like enjoying it. But the one bone I do have to pick is I wish it went longer.
Yes, that was my going to be my point. So they show 6 of Napoleon's major battles, which is a minuscule amount in the grand scheme of things because over his military career he fought something like 60 battles and then faced 5 coalition armies of different allies throughout his time as the emperor.
Mm,
So like to only show 6 battles is what 10% of his whole military career, and because of that, like we mentioned, it's jumping big chunks of time and like
huge.
skipping the movie forward, and it's like
5, 10 years at a time. Then when he goes away and comes back home, he's gone for 8 months, a year. Like so much time passes each time.
yeah, so it's like yeah, it for me because it did that, it didn't give us enough time to sort of let these battles sink
Sink
in
in.
and
I
give
know.
us time to sort of take in and understand the magnitude of the like casualties and the losses that France took in these battles. Like we mentioned, there was one where he lost 560,000 men, and it's like
I don't.
that's
Yeah, I don't think there's any emotion in this either. Like you said, it's just pure entertainment in your face fighting. You don't really have enough time to get emotionally invested into anything.
yeah, none of the character like, apart from Napoleon's like the one character where you sort of have some sort of connection to. Every other soldier is just cannon fodder.
Now I don't even mean that. So does the um, Empress. I feel like she's probably the one you resent at big time, but also she's probably the one you feel sorry for the most as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. You she's like the. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Nope.
Okay, well that jokes that line's on lost on you. Like
Scrap.
I felt like she was the Skylar White of this movie. Like you're
Yeah, I don't know.
sympathetic for some of the stuff she's going through and how he's treating her, but
Mm.
then you also look at him like she's not innocent in this whole situation. Like she's doing just as much dodgy stuff back to him. It's like
Hey,
they're both as bad as each other.
Why we're talking about her, two things to touch on. She was pregnant when they met, yeah?
Yes, or
Then all of a sudden she can't get pregnant. So
yes.
she was pregnant. She got pregnant in
Well,
prison
she
or
had two
whatever, yeah?
kids, and she had
She
two
had
kids. Yeah,
and she had 2 kids, and she got pregnant in prison. Then what happened to that kid? Eh? You just don't know.
yeah.
Or is that
Maybe
or
she
is
had
that
a
the?
miscarriage, and then that's what caused her to be infertile from then or something.
I think you know that. I'm going to run with that. And she ended up. I don't know. I haven't, like I said, I haven't checked the wikis, so I don't know how she died or what her certain virus or disease was. Do you think her little knight was Tsar Alexander? He poisoned her or gave her this sickness? That's the first
Mm,
thing I thought of. Because she got sick after she spent that night with him. Do you think he came over for
was
little date
was
nights and got her sick?
was that the Tsar though?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Uh, it might have
Yeah,
been.
100% was.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
maybe.
remember they showed the newspaper front page, the headline, that he came over and yeah,
Uh,
they.
yeah,
So that's what
maybe.
I was thinking. I was like, did he poison
The
her?
old, the old Russian poison job.
Hey, So
I've been doing it for years.
so that's what I was thinking there.
And yeah, like you mentioned there just not being any emotion, like particularly with the battle sequences. Do you think maybe that was because like Ridley Scott was trying to get you to have the same sort of emotions that Napoleon seems to have, where he doesn't care, he really doesn't care about any of these people, like they are just the cost of doing war. Like he's the battle you mentioned with the ice and the lake.
Yeah,
He basically uses a whole battalion of guys down by the lake
yeah,
as bait,
yeah. But they weren't on the
knowing that
like.
they're going to get totally overrun by this
Yeah.
incoming battalion. Like, whatever.
Oh, he
Once they
seems
get
to.
taken out, then we can force them off onto the lake and shoot cannons.
He doesn't see these soldiers and these men as individuals. He sees them as France, I think.
Yeah, and yeah, as weapons.
And there's
Like,
and there's like there's plenty, yeah, as weapons, and there's plenty of France to go around. Like, even if I have to give away some of this bread, I've still got heaps more bread left.
mhm.
Like, he doesn't, yeah, he's not a he just sees the soldiers and the army as one, and he gives away enough to so he still has some.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
like
he
that.
always
That
everything
was
to
one of
him
the
is
things I
France.
wrote down. I was like, while he was tactically brilliant, particularly in that first battle where they overthrow the siege of Toulon, I was like, yeah, he
Mm,
was tactically brilliant in that. Like the way he planned that was they were always going to win. But then, like some
yeah,
of these other battles, he was pretty much just winning because of brute force, where he had the bigger army and like,
ruthlessness and sacrificing men
yeah, like there were tactics involved, but it's
in
pretty easy
order
to
to.
win when your army's 2 or 3 times the size of the other one. Like your tactics can be average, and you'll probably win that battle.
Mm,
And then he gets to the Battle of Waterloo, where he's the one that's like way, way outnumbered, and his tactics are shit.
well, because that was, I think things started to go wrong for him then.
Yeah, yeah, that was the end. Like when the English actually worked out, okay, so he's going to send in cavalry. Let's just make squares, and then they're fucked.
How good are those squares?
Yeah,
Impenetrable.
yeah, very smart.
Um,
Oh, on their sort of the relationship between Napoleon and Josephine, there were some more words I wrote down for this.
Josephine, that was the name.
Awkward, a toxic relationship. Like they were bad for each other from the get go.
Love rooting.
Yeah, possessive. Both of them were very possessive, and like neither of them wanted them to be with anyone else, essentially. Which I guess is probably the way a relationship should be.
But they both wanted.
But
Neither
they
of them
took it to
wanted
the
to.
extremes.
Neither of them wanted the other one to be with someone else, but they both wanted to be with others.
Yes, and then that led to insane jealousy on both parts.
Yep.
But then forced to get a divorce, they clearly both still loved each other. They were just doing it because she couldn't get pregnant.
You know, at a point there, I thought, you know, when he got that young girl pregnant, I thought they were
After his
gonna.
mother set that up, that was weird.
Yeah, sus as. I thought they were gonna pretend like that was their kid, hey,
Mhm.
hers.
I thought that's it. I think that's what he wanted to do.
That's what he wanted. Then he asked what he's one of his fellow generals to keep the secret, and he's like, not keeping a secret like that against. I'm not gonna like against the state.
Yeah, I can't lie to France. It's like, okay.
But when they got divorced and they made a big public hoorah about it, I thought, and when she moved to that chateau out in the hills, I thought maybe that they're going to be still married, but officially divorced, but actually like they're still married, like on the secret,
Yep.
and they were going to raise. She was going to raise that kid there, and just yeah, but none of that sort of happened. But
Yeah,
you
it was
don't
a
see,
very,
and he
it was a
delivers a
very
baby.
weird situation.
Whose baby is that he gives it to? Was that the young lady's that he got pregnant?
Yes.
I had a feeling he was just going to see if he could get her pregnant. Then they weren't. That little young lady wasn't even going to have the kid. It was just in a test, but she's obviously went through with it.
Yeah. Well, he needed an heir, so I guess he just went, oh, there's one, so let's just do that.
Oh, and we did get told it was a boy, but that was it.
Yep.
How many Napoleons were there?
I don't know if he had many kids. I think yeah, maybe he had that one, maybe two.
But then we don't really see that child grow up though.
No,
So many little bits and pieces like that that I sort of wish were added in.
and that's where
And I would have,
Ridley Scott spoke about that too, where people were saying, "Oh, it's only 2.5 hours. Why did you only make? Why is it only 2.5 hours?" Like
I
we've
wish
seen
it was three and a
Oppenheimer that
half.
was 3. We've seen Killers of the Flower Moon's like 3.5,
I
and
would not
he
have had a
basically
problem.
said he feels 2.5 is about as long as people can sit comfortably in a cinema without starting to feel like the movie's dragging, which I
But a
kind of agree
movie like
with.
this, yeah, I do. Depends what kind of movie it is though. Like a movie like Killers of the Flower Moon, yeah, three and a half's probably pushing it. A movie like Oppenheimer, even three and a half's whatever, pushing it. A movie like this, you just don't want it to end. It's just action, action, action. And like I said, 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I was like, oh shit, is it done already? I was expecting
Mhm.
so much more. And rarely, when you are starting to be busting for a wee in the cinema, and you hold out, you're like, that's game over, and you can't concentrate on the movie. I was busting for a wee in this, and all of a
I
sudden, I
could
didn't need.
tell.
All of a sudden, I didn't need a wee anymore. Like I just completely forgot
Yeah,
because it was so much going on. I just got so distracted. So this could have been 3.5, 3:45. Would have been so happy with that.
you'll be excited to hear that the director's cut, which is Ridley Scott is hoping to that Apple will release on Apple TV Plus.
Mm,
It is 4 hours and 10 minutes.
hook that into me. But if I had a dollar for every time I heard there was a director's cut of a movie coming, I'd be a rich, rich man. I'm
Well,
yet to see.
he has said that multiple times in interviews since the like global premiere. He's like, yeah, I've got a director's cut that's over 4 hours. At one point, he
Give
said
it
four and
to
a
me,
half, so
baby.
it's
Give
been
it to me.
maybe trimmed a little bit. But yeah, it's the last time he spoke about it. He said 4 hours and 10 minutes, and gives you a lot more on Empress Josephine and everything around her, which I think this movie needs because
100%.
she's kind
She's
of
the only,
secondary. You just see bits every now and then.
like, like I said, she's the only, like, she could have her own, like, Priscilla movie, couldn't she? Jackie
Because yeah,
Kennedy had a movie. Priscilla's got a movie. Why can't Empress Josephine have a movie?
like yes, the movie is about Napoleon, but you think about it, she's his emotional anchor. Like she's the one that kind of makes him normal
I don't
and
know.
sane,
See,
but
I
also
don't.
crazy.
It's called Napoleon. I know it's meant to be about Napoleon. I don't think this movie is about Napoleon. It's about.
History,
I don't know.
historical
Like I don't know.
battles.
It's about what Napoleon did, not so much about Napoleon. I don't know. It's very. I think there's a very fine line in it.
Yeah, I think the one thing that made this movie like give you great insight into him were the voiceovers of Joaquin reading like actual letters that Napoleon wrote to Empress Josephine.
Were they?
I was like, this is giving a lot of insight into sort of his mental state throughout all of these years where he was like intensely jealous, incredibly hungry for more and more power. Like he wanted to basically destroy England and
Mm.
conquer all of Europe. And he also had like an inferiority complex. Like he
And how's all the
hated that anyone else could be better than him.
how's all the letters got sold too
Yeah, and I think
at the
that's
end?
probably why we still have them.
Yeah, that's probably why
Like
we
I feel like
just
he probably would have burnt them.
yeah, it's exactly. Otherwise, this movie probably wouldn't exist unless those.
Um, in terms of Napoleon, hates boats. Definitely hates boats.
Yeah, that's a man who doesn't like
He
being
does
on the
not.
water.
He does not like a boat at all.
Makes that no, makes that clear. Yeah, he likes getting his toes in the ground.
It's
Speaking of
the Tony Abbott of the 1700s.
the,
Turn back the boats.
um, bro, have you ever seen Tony Abbott and Napoleon Bonaparte in the same room?
Another man
Not,
with
but
a.
not,
That's another man with a Napoleon complex.
bro. They're not boat people. Um, where was I? I've just got completely lost. Oh yeah, speaking of Napoleon on a boat, how funny was that scene when he's sitting there having his English breakfast on that Pommy ship and
Mm-hmm.
just giving a little lesson to the young English soldier boys. Oh,
Yeah,
that was
where
that was
he's
what
just
that was.
not accepting that he was a failure and in any way.
Yeah, just in complete denial. I thought that was probably one of the better giggly scenes, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I had in terms of notes while watching the
Yeah,
movie. I had a couple more little small things to just touch on.
yep.
Uh, the costuming in this movie
Mint.
is
It'll
beautiful.
win an Oscar without doubt. The
Like
costumes
thousand
are
percent.
brilliant.
Every costume in this, I was like,
In
I could pause this and just study these
friggin'
costumes.
friggin' incredible. I was in awe the whole time. The blokes they dressed incredibly lit back then. Just the best.
Yep,
Huge fan.
yep. Full
One
big like tuxedo suits all the time.
the
The
collars, bro. The
tails.
high collars. I was like, oh my god, bring that back. Forget Halloween. The next wedding I go to, I want to dress up as Napoleon in his dinner attire
Yeah,
with
with
the big socks and the loafers.
saber and all.
Man, my late 1700s French men them out there. They're dressing the part. I want all that smoke.
Yeah, you got to have the saber on your belt too, like
Yeah,
full sword.
100%. Yep. Nah, I'm all for it.
And then the other note I wrote down when they kick off their whole like we're going to throw out the government and we're going to install Napoleon as the emperor of France. The whole movie, they all speak English, obviously because it's
Oh,
a movie and like it's just trying to make it easier. But they don't say revolution. They say we're going to have a coup d'état. They just randomly drop in this one like French word, French saying. I'm like, okay,
yeah, that's a whole other conversation. The accent thing. We first hear Napoleon speak, I was trying to pick up whether or not he had a French accent, but not just his normal American Joaquin Phoenix accent. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
It didn't take
It's
me out
hard.
of it. It was just
No, no, no. It wasn't.
the one time where they were like, oh, we're going to start a coup d'état, and I was like, okay, so we're just going to randomly use one French term in this whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I can look. I can see past this. I'm not going to let it get to me because on the other end of the spectrum, if they were all speaking French and I had to watch this in
This would
subtitles,
this would have been
no
a
thanks.
rough watch in subtitles.
So carry on with your American accents. I don't really mind. I'll let it slide.
So then, bit of trivia wise, budget was between 130 and 200 million dollars, which is probably still relatively low in terms of when you look at some of these battles and
Bro.
not only like the amount of people on screen, but the CG to also add
Yeah.
to that as well. It's like 200
Yeah.
million, pretty cheap. I was expecting closer to three.
It was mind blowing.
This movie is a reunion for Ridley Scott and Joaquin Phoenix, who last worked on Gladiator in 2000,
Yeah.
which I read that and I was like, Gladiator was in 2000? Are you serious? I thought it was
Who
older
was
than
he?
that.
He played Caesar, eh?
He played one of the Roman
Was
emperors.
it Caesar? When he was in this, when he was his crowning ceremony, when his little crown on, he looked exactly like his Gladiator character.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost exactly the same. I'm actually need to get side by sides up. I'm going to do it if I
And then
can.
when I was doing research for this, you know how he goes through the whole like coronation ceremony, does everything
Yeah.
the way he's supposed to, and
Yeah.
then as the guy like goes to crown him, he just like steps
Does it
in and like
himself.
crowns
Does it
himself.
himself.
Apparently,
Yeah.
he legitimately did that.
Yeah, I was
I
wondering
was
if
like,
he
you
did.
cocky, arrogant prick.
Yeah, I was wondering if he did, and I was happy to run with yes, he actually did do that. I reckon there was a lot of little
That
bits
was
and
one of
pieces,
the like
and
accurate things in the movie. I was like, wow.
yeah, I reckon there was a lot of little bits and pieces like that in this movie that I didn't realize, but he actually did do shit like that, and I assume that would have been one of them for sure.
And then the other trivia piece I had, this was filmed in only 61 days, which
That's mental.
you look at some of those battles, like that's a short period of time. And then in those battles, they used 11 cameras and filmed simultaneously on all 11. So, which is why we get sort of all the changing camera angles and like you get so many different angles of those battles, which gives it that real kinetic feel.
Yeah, well, that's how they obviously cut down the filming time.
Yeah.
But then again, there's obviously cameras in the shot of other cameras constantly.
Yeah, which is then where your CG artists get a lot of
Get
work
down.
cutting cameras out. So then, yeah, we mentioned if you're a history buff, you just got to put that aside because
Put it aside, bro.
there are a number of historical inaccuracies, which begin immediately in that opening scene with Marie Antoinette being executed. Napoleon was not actually there at the time. But in this movie, he
Like,
witnesses that, and
if
it's
you
like, okay, yeah.
if you pick up on that, please show yourself a door. Like, just let it slide. Enjoy the movie.
And then the next one that seems to have ruffled a lot of feathers when Napoleon is in that battle in Egypt under the Sphinx next to the pyramids, and he, in the movie, shoots the cannons at the pyramids.
Yeah.
That did not happen. They were apparently like 7 miles away. Like you could see them, but they were not close enough to shoot.
It never crossed my mind if that happened. I highly doubt it. You know what I was wondering if it actually happened? If they wore their full kit in the freaking Egyptian desert like that.
Yeah, that would have sucked.
These boys did not own shorts.
No, and yeah, those coats were not like
But
nice,
thick,
breathable cotton.
thick
They were
wool.
thick wool coats. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
boys were built different back then, wearing that shit out in the desert.
Then you see the tactical map that they're doing with one of the battles, and they show a Belgian flag. That could not have happened.
Yeah.
That flag was not created until 1830, 15
Yeah.
years after that battle, and 9 years after Napoleon's death.
Well, I'm pretty sure I noticed that too.
I was like, oh, okay. Belgium was
There's
not
me
a thing.
being it. There's my history buff.
And then at the age of 49, Joaquin Phoenix is technically too old to be playing Napoleon
Oh, shut up. Don't even say that.
because Napoleon was 24. 24 during the Battle of Toulon,
How young was he,
27 when he commanded the army of Italy in Egypt, and 35 when he crowned himself emperor. So
Yeah, bro. When they got married and they were saying what year they were born, I was like, hang on a minute, he's in his friggin' 20s,
20s,
bro.
yeah, he's young. Which I guess at the time was probably pretty old.
Then I was like, what was I doing when I was 26?
Not ruling
leading
France, that's for sure.
Nah, not out there
Not
doing
leading
things,
armies.
that's for sure. Not getting married. That's a hot take.
And then in the marketing for this movie, one of the taglines is he came from nothing and conquered everything.
He didn't conquer everything.
Somewhat inaccurate because he was of minor nobility where he was born, so he kind of had a bit of a leg up where he could be sent away by his family to go and join the army, like universities essentially, and get like trained.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb tagline, to be honest with you.
He did conquer a lot of Europe at the time, which is why everyone was like, we need to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, it's not everything though.
Otherwise, Europe will be French. Imagine that today.
Man, I don't want to think about different outcomes. When I feeling a bit frisky and I start thinking about alternative outcomes of like major events in history, I just like shake it out of my thought. It's like I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
And then that Battle of Austerlitz with the lake, apparently that's a bit of an exaggeration. There was no giant lake. There was just a bunch of like fishing ponds. So
it did happen though. He did do that.
Yeah, apparently they just like forced
guys onto the ice.
Yeah, and because they were smaller ponds, and then he drained those ponds to see how many people died, and apparently no people died in those lakes and ponds or whatever they were. It was just like wagons and stuff got dragged down in it.
Oh.
So it's loosely based on some accurate information.
There you go. Yeah, history buff's going to be all over this.
You mentioned the little sit-down powwow between Napoleon and the Duke of Wellington at the end in the British ship.
Mm-hmm.
They actually never met.
Oh, really? That's a massive one.
So that's a big no, that didn't ever happen. So it was fine.
Know, but Are we prepared to start picking apart every single biopic and getting it inaccurate? People get hard for that sort of stuff, though.
But
Just enjoy what's in front of you, honestly.
as Ridley Scott says in his response to these criticisms, get a life.
Bro, get a life. Go outside and get some sunshine.
And then he also said to a bunch of historians that were like, oh yeah, picking every minor detail apart. He was like, when I have issues with historians, I simply ask, excuse me, mate, were you there? No?
Yeah,
Well, shut the fuck up.
Bro, you weren't even there.
So yeah, I was like,
You
I'm
you
with
weren't
Ridley here.
even.
Like, just go in and enjoy this movie for what it is. Like, no one ever claimed it was 100% factually accurate. Like,
Yeah.
it's for entertainment. It's a movie, for Christ's sake. It's not a documentary.
Yeah, you weren't even there, bro, honestly.
So yeah, that's Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Ridley Scott. What would you rate Napoleon out of 5?
Well, before we just crunch the numbers right now, I had it at 5. But after we brought a few things out on the table, the runtime is just, like I said, it's just a bit too short for me. It should have been an hour longer. A few things were missing. Maybe some of the gigglies, or maybe too many gigglies. Maybe 1 or 2 gigglies, but there was a few too many, maybe. And I'm guilty for my own, what I brought up about people think this is going to be a show-stopping performance by Joaquin Phoenix. I think I've got everything I wanted from the film as being an epic battle extravaganza. But I think I subconsciously did want it to be a better performance.
Mm-hmm.
So, in saying that, I will be giving this Napoleon film 4.8 decapitated heads out of 5.
Fair. I still gave this a 5, purely based on my scale of 5 being, go and watch this as soon as you can, and watch it, please, for the love of God, on the biggest possible movie screen you can find.
The few people I've told to watch this, I've said, please go watch it at the cinema. Do not watch this on your laptop. Balance it on your knees.
Do not wait.
Don't even think about it.
For your first viewing of this, don't wait for this to be on Apple TV.
Not only because of the visual of what's in front of you, which is like a lot of it, but the sound you get from a cinema.
Yeah, but those cannons and mortars going off, you need that.
The sound is huge. And we actually seen this at the brand new IMAX in Sydney, which only been open a few weeks. Just a quick bonus IMAX review. Thoughts?
Honestly, not much different from the old one.
Yeah, it wasn't that impressive. Like, I probably wouldn't make a special trip to just go see another movie.
The sound was better than the old one, but apart from that, the screen and everything seems
very, very comfortable for non-reclining upright chairs. They had new car smell, but the facilities were exquisite inside the foyer and whatnot.
Yeah, that building is beautiful.
The wine was nice. The popcorn just right in the saltiness department.
Even though you spilled it everywhere, you just tried to swim in the popcorn.
Even though I got more of it on my pants and my shirt and in my seat and on the floor than in my mouth, but it was nice.
But yeah, big shout out to Soda Pictures Australia for getting us to that one. So
yeah,
I was very happy to see that, for this to be like our debut IMAX movie. I would have been disappointed if it was anything else.
Couldn't have thought of a better debut film.
But yeah, like I said, go and watch. Your first experience with this needs to be in a cinema on a big ass screen with epic surround sound. And then once it hits Apple TV, I'm hoping Ridley gets his way and we get that 4-hour director's cut as an option on Apple TV. Because if we get that, I will watch this again. Yeah,
I think it's just non-negotiable to be going to the cinema to see this. Just make the effort. I don't even care. I don't care how busy you are.
Yep.
If you care enough to see this movie, care enough, put in the effort to go to the cinema.
Alrighty. Thank you for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow me on social media at JamieUpsMedia and at Pario Magazine. And you can follow Blake on Twitter at Captain Crumbs with a Z. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Ups Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/JamieUpsMedia. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.